Hi, I'm Dakota Taylor. I play Bobby in Netflix's Street Prom Queen, and you are watching Pop Culture with Pat.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So excited to be joined by today's guests. Today I'm talking to Dakota Taylor, who plays Bobby in Fear Street Prom Queen. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Dakota.
Hey, no, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you are very welcome. Excited to talk about this film. I had so much fun with this. I'm going to give a just a warning for you guys that there will be spoilers in this interview, specifically as we get towards the end. So once we get towards that, I'll let you guys know again, in case. But I just wanted to give you guys that fair warning. To start things off, though, for you, Dakota, I wanted to ask you, what was your relationship with horror just kind of growing up?
Oh man, I it was funny. I growing up, I was very timid around horror. I always liked the prospect of it. Funnily enough, there was a Goosebumps book that I was obsessed with, but because it scared me so much, and it just happened to be about a sponge with teeth under the kitchen sink, and
Yeah.
and it was the fact that you couldn't get rid of it, and that I think was my first introduction to the sort of creeping dread of that like pit in your stomach of there's nothing I can do. And I grew up always fascinated with it, and I was sort of too chicken, I guess, for horror movies until The Witch. And from
Ooh.
that point on, I hold the high opinion of no one does it like Robert Eggers, and I adore all his stuff. And that kind of spread me off into anything I could get my hands on. I was so fascinated by especially the low budget aspects of it, like Evil Dead through Army of Darkness became some of my favorite things as well. Mostly because I grew up wanting to make, the no budget shoestring movies with, your friends. And what's the easiest thing to do? Well, you pour a bunch of food coloring on someone and hope their parents don't get mad that you stain their clothes, right? So to
Exactly.
see that on screen, I think is really fascinating to me and very relatable, which is what I think was so great about doing this movie in particular too, because Matt, our director, Matt Palmer, he is the exact same way. And you can tell that that joy and that passion just emanates through the screen because we all just, in the end, want to be little kids in the backyard making these movies that we loved growing up.
Yeah, I came across an interview from him recently that said that he wanted to make this feel like it was a lost horror film from the 80s that you would have found in like a video store or something along those
Yeah.
lines. And after watching the movie, I completely agree. It fits right in there. You guys nailed the 80s aesthetic. Being a big Goosebumps fan growing up, like I said, I loved it. It's right up there with my favorites of the Fear Street series so far. And I believe the Goosebumps book, if I remember off the top of my head, I think that's called It Came From Beneath the Sink. I think
Yeah.
that's the title of it.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And it's, yeah, the two eyes from the dark underneath the sink. And it was incredible. So
Yeah.
it was really great to kind of like step into our own part of that, but then also bring in, like Matt said, everything else. It kind of felt like we got to make four or five different movies that, stand as the greats. And we kind of just got to do our own spin on it. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I loved all the just I mean, if you're a horror fan, all the little Easter eggs and influences from other films. The character Megan, her room just with all the posters,
Yeah,
reading the Fangoria magazine. I was like, oh man, you have me right there as a horror fan. I love seeing that stuff.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Now, for you, what influences helped you get into the mindset of your character to bring him to life for this film?
Oh man, it was really funny because we get a bit of character when you read for the role, and then you sort of get the rest afterwards. And the only thing I really had when I was reading the role was he's friends with all the jocks. They're all jerks. He just happens to be the nicest one out of them, which was always fun. So I wanted to consume everything even remotely connected to any sort of jock, be it from any time period. Like it went from the Friday the 13th movies to like Blue Mountain State, just
Oh, nice.
to try and get everything that I could, and just to have the most fun with it. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's surprisingly easy once you throw on the bomber jacket with the leather sleeves and you look around the school. And I was I drew the shortest straw. Not really. I did love it, but I ended up getting the mullet out of everybody, which, I loved. I thought it was great. So once you have all those aspects around you, and no matter where you are in your location, if the room just smells like hairspray, you're in the 80s. And
Yeah.
that made it very, very easy. And obviously everyone who played the rest of the wolf pack and the jocks themselves, like, everyone was so great and everyone was so passionate about getting to be a part of this time period that, we never actually got to do. We've only seen it through movies, and now you get to, have your own little session of playing pretend to do it yourself, right? So it was a lot of fun. It was easier than I expected once we got to set and everybody was there and you're all in the zone at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything I could get my hands on for, student stuff, even not in horror, just to really make sure that we're all believably back in high school.
Yeah, no, I think you guys did a good job, and got to give a shout out to the hair, the makeup team, the wardrobe, the
Yeah.
set design, because yeah, I mean, right from the get-go watching the movie, it really immersed me in that time period. It felt like you were in the 80s. So I imagine, like you said, it was kind of that made it a lot easier for you to kind of get into that mindset when you're just surrounded by all that stuff that's from that era.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to Linda and Bobby, now, did you have any discussion with Elan as far as just how those two ended up dating, or just like any of their backstory up to this point?
Yeah, a little bit. It was funny. We sort of got there was some things that we all sort of discussed, which was funny, when it comes to all the different relationships throughout the nominees. And so when it got to us, it was sort of the if anybody's been together the longest, it's most likely them. If anybody is like the quietest in the room, it's most likely them. And then the wonderful cherry on top was, wait, Linda printed flyers? And like to have us standing there handing out the flyers, to be like putting on that like face of like, oh, I'm so nice to all of you. Yeah, please vote for us, but we are still, the popular girl and one of the mean jocks, right? So it
Yeah.
was we're in it together in that way. And I was very all for the fact of like Bobby's not reluctantly handing out those flyers with Linda. Like, yeah, like of course you're gonna vote for her, and I'm gonna make sure you're gonna vote for her.
Yeah, I love that you guys did that, just added that little extra touch. And yeah, I mean, like, we've kind of talked about you guys all like working together, meeting each other. Can you talk about the first time actually getting to meet the whole cast and just you guys kind of developing that dynamic and relationship that you guys share in this film?
Yeah, no, I mean, if we're talking about things that were easy, that was the easiest part. We started shooting on a Monday, and so the Friday before it, day one, was the classroom scene with the hand chop. So that was day one, and
Great
it
way to
was
start.
it was such a great way to start. Absolutely. We went to rehearsal and we all showed up, and it was almost as if we'd already known each other, which was very strange but very comforting at the same time. Damian, who was just to my left, who's Judd, not even 20 minutes into knowing the guy, he had already drawn all over my paper. And that was, okay, yeah, Judd would totally do that. And so I got all these, vile things on my sheet of paper in the class, which like it fit so perfectly. I'm sure it was a nightmare for our poor continuity team, but it was very great that we all got sort of a very nice trial by fire. We were all stuck in a room together for a day of rehearsing and then a day of shooting, and there's screaming, there's dialogue, there's lots of blood, there's throwing up, and it gets this amazing sort of ascent to this big blow up moment where everyone sort of gets to like let loose. And when you rehearse that let loose moment so many times, you have to let go, because if you hold anything back, it's no longer real. And
Yeah.
so when everyone is at the same time, just letting themselves, maybe this face I make when I scream is a little embarrassing, but hey, so be it, because it's real. And when you get to that level of comfortability with all of your coworkers, who I now am very grateful to be able to call friends, it makes it so smooth. And then you end up getting your shots just that much quicker, because everyone's on the top of their game, and they are all so good at what they do. I can't speak highly enough about any of them. Like they are all amazing and kind and giving. And if they're saying anything bad about me, they're probably lying. But no, it was really
Yeah.
great. It was really great. And for such a long, shoot, being in that gymnasium for probably the better part of a month, everyone was very ready to get out of the dresses, out of the collars, everything like that. So you go through it together, and I don't think any of us would trade it for the world, because we did all have a very great time being together, and I still have a great time seeing them. And it's amazing to think that we will still see each other, even though that this is, all over now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very great, very great.
It's crazy how, yeah, working on a project, how you can just develop a relationship and a bond with someone that carries on with them for the rest of your life. You just never
Mhm.
know when that might happen. Now, you think of high school, you think of the yearbooks and the superlatives. As far as, I guess, for you, when it comes to what would someone maybe say for you most likely to when it comes to just you being on the set and working on this film?
Oh man. You know what? Yeah, most likely, if it's me personally, most likely to make some sort of joke that makes everybody sigh and, pretend they didn't like it. I like to think they pretend that they didn't like it,
Yeah.
because, I like to think that I'm funny, but no, I have a great time, and they really let me be myself in that way. So, I mean, yeah, most likely to crack some sort of bad joke,
So
because yeah.
busting out the dad jokes.
Yeah, exactly. I think I enjoy making my friends laugh. And when they very quickly became my friends, it sort of became something that I got to latch on to. And, if they're smiling, then I'm happy too.
And as far as for a prom in general, in your opinion, what are some must play songs that you have to have on a prom list?
Oh man. Well, I mean, I guess we could go two ways with that. If we're going as an 80s prom, I have never been so excited about a soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack's amazing.
I would pretty much go through everything in this movie. My first concert was when I was really, really little, and it was to Judas Priest. I was about 4 years old. So when
Wow.
I heard "You Got Another Thing Coming On," when they went up to the steps when Megan's there, it was so crazy to see something that I've enjoyed so much my whole life. Now to have that be a little part of something I got to do.
Yeah.
So if we're talking 80s, that absolutely. In terms of today, I not everybody would agree with me, but I'm a huge Avenged Sevenfold, Corn, Slipknot fan. So I mean, if everyone if we could start a mosh pit at prom, I think I'd be happy.
There you go. I mean, those are some great choices for sure. And what overall, I guess, just working on this film, we've talked a little bit about it, but like, what are some of your favorite memories that you're gonna take with you, forever in your life moving forward? That when you think about working on this film, that just come to your mind?
Well, I mean, there's a good handful, absolutely. I mean, the being on set, not even for, I mean, we did say spoilers, not even for my own, but for everybody's deaths. Like I will never forget just the reactions of everybody sitting in Video Village watching the monitors of like who bites the dust today, and so getting to watch everyone do the one thing that they are all pretty much most excited about, like the reason we are the most excited to be a part of such a very, very bloody slasher. So it's like, okay, who gets to do it today? And just getting to see them have that fun, and then getting to have that fun myself with my own, right?
Yeah.
That I think everybody holds those moments very, very highly, because I know I do.
And I'll say again, like too, before we get into this one, but just spoilers again, just in case. But wanted
Mhm.
to ask you about because it's always fun to just kind of hear the behind the scenes of what
Yeah.
went into a character's death scene. So, can you talk about you and or Bobby and Linda's character deaths in this film? Especially, I mean, man, yours just getting the hands chopped
Yeah.
off and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what went into filming all that?
Oh man, I didn't. Yeah, it was funny when I read for the role. My first audition scene was the "Hey Linda, you messing with me? You're in the dark," and there wasn't many lines for it. It was mostly just waiting for her to come back, and then seeing her, and then she drops, reveal the killer, and they said end it on a screen. So I went, okay, I guess I got to give it all I got, right? And so there was there. And then the first time I got the script, I I almost had to reread it a couple times in disbelief because of anywhere this scene that I already knew, anywhere it could have gone, I would have never guessed it would have been there. And I was so happy about it. I really was. And because it's such an awesome moment to be able to play with, even before you get into the actual fight itself, which was a 2 day shoot. Our deaths
Oh
was
wow.
2 full, like 12 to 14 hour days. And some of the most, grueling physical work I've ever done. But I was just so happy to do it over and over and over again. And, growing up with, you know, even not even horror, but just action movies in general, being able to say like, okay, kid, today's your fight scene. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
And so, it was so great. And, we shot, I'd say about 95% of that scene in like chronologically in the way it's shown, a few inserts with some props and things like that at the very end. But we got to start out the first day with, we haven't seen the art room set yet, but we know this is where it's going down. So, we got to have the rehearsal blocking, and it was okay, action on rehearsal. And we got to enter the art room for the first time and look around and have that moment of, okay, here we are, right? And then you start looking around at all the different tables and you're going, okay, which one is you find the paper slicer and you go, oh wow, okay, this is where we're gonna be. And it was so much fun to have the real quiet moment before, to walk into the dark, to have her come out, to have a land. The way we did I'm sure she mentioned as well, but the guts, when she's holding it, you would have thought we were doing like a Kubrick film at the time. Like, she was such a trooper in just like having to do that one shot because it had to be perfect. We had to have the killer like perfectly behind her, so when she drops, he's there. She had to enter in just into the right, so the light hit her at the right time. The guts had to be held in a very certain way, and it was just take after take after take. And I think with many people, some people would get fed up after a while. What do you mean we didn't get it?
Yeah.
But we're just completely geeked out of our minds, being so happy to do this. And then obviously you get that first thing of, okay, well, let's get you into your stunt costume now, because you're going to get sticky and there's blood everywhere and there's fake hands. And not to mention, seeing my fake head for the first time was a very,
Surreal.
very strange sight to behold. I mean, it was awesome. Seeing it just get smashed into the door over and over again and watching the blood splatter, everyone was so, disturbed, and they're looking at me like, are you okay with watching this? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is the greatest thing I've ever done. You know what I mean? I
How
had
many
so much
times do
fun
you get to
with
see
it.
yourself die?
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. Right. And then you get it on film, so you can watch as many times as you want afterwards. So it was great. It was a lot of fun. I was all padded up underneath the suit to do the big like choke slam down onto the table for the second hand. And like having seeing the monitor and where the fake hand is sitting there for the first chop. And it was that weird thing of that like social experiment where you hide your one hand and you have a fake one and you do the same thing to both. And then
Yeah.
when you hit the fake hand with a hammer, you get that moment of, oh my God, right? So to sit there and have my arm behind me, and our great stuntman who did a lot of the like the actual action parts, he did a couple things, Tomas, who was amazing. He was so worried in a way because he saw this, what looks like a real hand right there. And so when we're sitting there doing the first chop, the second chop was okay because I didn't have either hand anywhere close to even looking like it was close to the blade. But there was the fact that there was one real hand kind of flailing around, and then the other one, the fake one, had a fishing wire on the middle finger, which gave it the twitch. And we went to go do it, and on the first take, he almost couldn't bring himself to bring it down. He's like, hey, like, can you grab my leg or something with your other hand, just so I know? And
Yeah.
so under the table, I had my hand on his knee kind of deal to be like, it's okay, we can totally do this. And then obviously if you don't, just like the classroom, if you don't send it when the moment happens, and you only get so many takes because you only had a couple hands. So when that chop goes, you have to give it everything you got. And that chop is the first and pretty much only take of that one
Wow.
angle for the first hand, because we knew we had to get it. And so he knew my hand was there and we chopped it and I screamed. And as soon as they called cut, he's like, I need to see your other hand. Just, I need to know. I didn't just, and I'm like, dude, it's okay. It's totally great. But
That's
yeah,
cool that he was that concerned though. It's
he was
good to know
one.
that you had someone working with you that was
Yeah.
that concerned and wanted to be as safe as possible. I'm sure that that helped you as well, just going through the same.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was great. And everyone, we had two different versions of the blade too. So there was the real blade which would go through the hand, and then we had sort of a foamed up one that it still wouldn't come down on my hand, but it was everyone knew that if something ever slipped and the arm came down, it would just bounce off my
Yeah.
wrist at that point. So that was great too. But yeah, and then it got messy because then it was okay. You're gonna crawl through all this blood and everything like that, and we had to. It was great. I had two black, sort of like winter gloves that if I made a fist and they were in the shadows, that was sort of our beginning of, okay, there's no hands. So it made everybody in post's job much, much easier. And they went, well, we're not getting, when you're touching we called them our stubs, when you're not touching your stubs to the ground, we're not getting that blood. Like, you feel like you should have a trail. And so we had buckets of blood where I would just get to dunk my hands in and let the gloves soak up all the blood for about maybe 10, 20 seconds. Action. And then I'd start crawling across the floor, and just the sound was
That's
just
amazing.
nauseating. But I had a great time. Oh man, yeah, it was so
Yeah.
much.
That's amazing. Yeah, especially like as you got older, said becoming like a horror fan and getting
Mhm.
to actually do something like this and just deal with all the
Yeah,
blood, guts and all that fun stuff. I love those kind of behind the scenes stories. So thank you for sharing that, Dakota. And
absolutely.
just to wrap things up for you, is there anything else that you would like to say about the working on the project in general? What fans can, kind of expect, and where can they stay up to date with you moving forward?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, in terms of staying up with me, I'm on, all the socials under the sun, Instagram, TikTok. In terms of what fans can expect from this movie, I think the beautiful thing is you going into it, what do you expect? And I think no matter what you expect, the movie will give you at least something that will come out of left field, and you'll be able to go, "Oh wow, I am genuinely surprised by that." Because I think the work that Matt and Donald, as a writing team, put into it, it's just they're some of the most talented workers I've ever met behind that camera and on the page, and they do what they do very, very well. And I'm very grateful that they even looked at me in the first place, because when I got the email and it was under wraps, you couldn't quite tell what it was, but I saw Shady Side once, and my heart dropped, and I went, oh, you have to be kidding me. This would be cool, and you don't want to put too much thought into it beforehand, because
Yeah,
it can
anything could
be a
happen.
no, right? But there was always this little thing in the back of my mind leading up to when I did get the call, which was maybe a month or two after I did the tape, where I just went, man, that would have been cool. That one in particular, that would have been neat. So when I got that call, hey, Matt loved you. We're gonna go ahead and do this. It was one of the greatest moments I could remember in a very, very long time. So I'm very excited for everyone to see it. I'm very proud to have been a part of it. I'm very proud of everybody else in it, who are great people, and they are so good from top to bottom. Every single person in this movie, I am immensely proud of and happy to call friends. And I can't wait to hear what everyone has to say about it, because it's as at the time of recording this, it's not long now. So I'm gonna
Yep.
keep an eye out for how everyone feels, and I know it'll be big. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you definitely should be proud and congratulations. Super happy for you, Dakota,
Thank
for
you so much.
landing, especially being a fan of the genre and this series coming into it. It's awesome that you were able to get this role. Like I said, it's right up
Mm,
there with like the favorite one in the Fear Street series so far for me. It's one
great.
I can see myself going back to and over again. So can't wait for everyone else to watch it. And yeah, you're welcome back anytime in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. I'd be happy to. Hi, I'm Dakota Taylor. I play Bobby in Netflix's Fear Street Prom Queen, and you are watching Pop Culture with Pat.